Friends, it's humbling speaking with you this afternoon about the mission that we share as the Diocese of Ontario. We are rooted in the gospel of Christ and seek to be connected and engaged in ministry. Therefore, we seek to invest in ministry, carry out mission-driven stewardship, and serve our communities.
So building on that vision and strategy, in 2018, as part of the governance rework of our canons and constitution, included in one of the canons was looking at what happens as we end ministries, as congregations in some places make the decision to come to an end, as the assets are sold or dispersed, what happens to the net proceeds? And the canon directs that now that money goes to the ministry allocation fund. And the first use of that allocation fund is in the new ministry fund. And so that new ministry fund is targeted to support the exploration, the establishment, and the nurturing of new and innovative ministries in our great diocese. And in order to do that, Synod Council has been given the governance over it, and Synod Council has tasked the Executive Board to pick it up, develop the program, develop the objectives, develop the priorities, and then develop the operational model.
We established 4 program priorities. First, that things be simple, easy to access for our congregations, parishes, and other groups of the diocese. That we have a focus on ministries that are innovative and new. That we practice the good stewardship of our resources that we have been blessed with, and that quick decision-making is the order of the day to support innovation and nurture spiritual growth. There are a variety of initiatives that underpin this. Works of reconciliation, lay leadership, evangelism, social action and justice, and the creation of a culture of gratitude.
So as we always do, we look for best practices. We want to learn from others. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we looked at the Diocese of Toronto, amongst others, and looked at how they put these types of new ministry programs in place. And we came up with an adaptation of their Reach and Stretch grant program. So Reach grants are all about, on the theme of warming up for ministry, reaching. It's about reaching for new ministries. And so that reach is available to any congregation. It's available to groups within the diocese that are engaged in ministry. Those ministries should be in the focus area that have been prioritized by Council, which Wayne just spoke to. Reach grants have a cap of $5,000, so larger than the covenant grants that were available before, so they can go farther and take things further. But like the covenant grants, they're really intended to be simple and straightforward, both in terms of the application and the process to get through them. So the intention is that each congregation or group can only do one Reach grant per year. It must be focused around new ministry, and that you can't, in that $5,000, include personnel costs, so hiring, etc., or capital costs. And what we will do is focus at 3 intakes per year, one in February, one in June, one in October, but hoping that people are going to come away from Synod excited, and as we hit the next shift here in our pandemic response, that as you start to engage on a broader base, people are going to leave Synod and be excited by this. So we're actually going to take our first intake in the month of December. And so that will begin as a special intake. The next one, February, will be the first of the new year. When we then get to stretch grants, this is now stretching, right, past the reach to the next level. It's about taking something that has worked well with a Reach grant, a new ministry, and looking at what support might be required, if it's appropriate, to take it to the next level. And so stretch grants can be up to $20,000. To apply for a stretch grant, you would first look at and review what you did with the REACH grant, what the impact of it was, what the learnings from it were. And then you would make an application to get a stretch grant. In the case of stretch grants, up to 50% may be personnel costs. Because these stretch grants have to be based on successful REACH grants, we're not looking at our first round of stretch grants until October of 2022. So we talked about REACH grants and being simple to get to. So it's kind of a four-step piece. The first is really understanding locally where it's best done. What are the needs in your community? What are the needs for ministry? From there, you can create ideas, opportunities, brainstorm around what that might look like, what the opportunities are to build something, and what it would take to build that ministry, and then develop plans from it. From there, you can then go and do our simple application form, which is focused on describing the ministry, who it is, who it's for, what it is, why it is, how it's going to work, and very importantly, what does success for that ministry look like? From there, you take that and go to a new ministry grant panel. And really, this is 3 people that would be put together depending upon the topic of your application. And it's a 10-minute pitch. This is not complicated with PowerPoint slides and a whole lot of technical lingo. This is really just talking about what it is, who it's for, why it is, and how you want to succeed. That group of panel is going to be empowered to grant the money and motivated to say yes. So you'll quickly get approval, and the funds will be available quickly, so you can go, and get your ministry going, and going. The second round of stretch grants, if it's appropriate, you would look through and do a review of your REACH ministry. You'd look at what the successes were. You'd look at what the opportunities are for second stage funding. You'd then fill out, again, a simple application, summarize what you're trying to do, what you've learned, what you're adjusting, what the growth path is, what you're extending, and you then send to the executive board an application. Executive board would look at it, review it. They may ask for a meeting to discuss it, and then again, the executive board is empowered to make a decision, and if they approve it, then the funds become available. So Wayne, we talked about the REACH grants in this panel, and I guess some people could look at it and say, ooh, that sounds rather like Dragon's Den. That might be a little scary. So could you talk a little bit about the experience of what a REACH grant panel is going to be like?
I would like to introduce you to 3 people from the Diocese of Toronto. You are about to meet the Reverend Eileen Steele, who is the incumbent of the parish of Penetanguishene and Wabashene, Sue Savage, who is the parish administrator and a REACH grant panelist since 2017, and Elizabeth McCaffrey, the Diocese of Toronto Volunteer Resources Coordinator with responsibility for REACH and stretch grants. All Saints Penetanguishene has had 2 REACH grants. The first was for their breakfast club drop-in. Sue saw a woman with a small child in a snowbank outside the local Tim Hortons begging for food in 2014 and decided that the parish needed to do a hot breakfast and lunch program. They received a stretch grant to expand to more days in the week in 2019 for that program. And in 2020, they received a REACH grant for the live streaming of their worship. Christ Church Wabashene received a REACH grant for a community lunch program in 2017. Let's listen to them discuss the experience of making a pitch to the panel.